back to the Women in Movement podcast. We're here with Nina, also known as Kitty. Kitty is an instructor, performer, and writer in Brooklyn, New York. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. I do a lot of things, but I would say that the things that you said were about me are absolutely accurate. I'm a queer Korean American. I'm also a fembi, femme non-binary person. And I'd say that my primary methods, I guess, of artistry are pole dancing and playwriting.
Wonderful. You're so creative in both aspects of your life. So it's cool to know that you're merging your creativity in different ways.
Yeah, I've always been kind of arty. I feel like I would categorize myself as like a dabbler, and that might also honestly be because I have ADHD. Because like with having ADHD, you tend to have like a lot of different hobbies, and then like just as quickly like lose them. But yeah, pole dancing and playwriting have been the things that are like stuck with me the most. I also like crochet sometimes, do a little bit of drag sometimes. I've also acted a little bit. I've just done like a lot of random things.
Yes. And you did yoga at some point too,
I did,
right?
Yeah, I was a yoga instructor for a while as well. Yeah. I feel, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think also, there's a book called Tinker, Dabble, Doodle, Try.
Yeah.
So yeah, dabbling is a very important part of life. So if you want to look at that book, or any of the listeners do, they talk about focus and unfocused mindsets, and how having a focused mindset can be actually very draining on the brain. So it's important to also fill your time with unfocused activities. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree. I'm going to check that book out, but I feel like it's like really enriched my life, honestly, to like be interested in a lot of things, to like go down these like rabbit holes of like even researching sometimes, like for writing or otherwise, just like random facts and knowledge floating around my brain, so.
Yeah. I mean, they all connect at some point.
Yeah. It like comes back in some random and unusual way.
Yes. So I did listen to a little bit of Sea Longing, but there seems to be that there was definitely research put into that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that play? It was a play?
Yeah, it's an audio play. So my style as a writer is first of all, I like write a lot about like queer Asian things, and like specifically like queer Korean because I am Korean. But there's also a lot of like magic or like fantasy kind of things involved, a lot of like animals talking and stuff. And something that people have told me is that I make people cry. So it's like, I don't know, just like emotional and sad, which some people are surprised by, because I think in my normal life, as I interact with students or like UT, I'm like, ha, ha, ha. So it's like really shocking, I guess. But in terms of research for that play, I did do a lot of research around seals. And I guess like the most interesting part of that research was this program that the US had about using marine animals to perform tasks for like military operations, basically. So like landmine detection and like subterfuge, like spying, espionage, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. I forget. It's been a while since I did that research, so I think it was called the Marine Mammal Program or something like that. Eventually they disbanded that, but yeah, they used seals, to detect landmines, and like I think a lot of it is also not on the public record, but there's some suggestion that there was like espionage, like spying and stuff like that too.
Wow. Yeah, that is so interesting. Random facts, just hitting us on.
It's like random.
Yeah. Is there like maybe like a pole pose that you would equate to like feeling like embodying a seal?
I think there's a pose called the seal.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's the one where you're upside down and you have like a tabletop arm like behind your back.
I was
And then your legs are
imagining a
straight.
tabletop something. I was like,
Like a brown
tabletop
blanket.
something would feel very seal-like.
Yeah. It's been imagined before.
Very you too, those tabletop positions.
I'm like, no, I know I'm going to plan for my next lesson.
Yeah, I think that it's to watching your Instagram stories or your Instagram posts, because for your students, you post a lot of what you're gonna do in class, which I think students enjoy because they can go back and try to perform the same combo of moves, or they know what they're getting before they go to class. But I also see this like parallel with your use of combos and your storytelling. I'm like, oh,
Aw.
there's like there's like a need to like, yeah, transition from a piece to another piece, and in a way that's fluid. And I feel like that also fits into your storytelling life. And
Aw,
like,
that's so interesting. I'm gonna actually like think about that.
yeah, you can put that off to the side and maybe come back for another combo.
I think you're I do really like transitions. I really like yeah, actually I was talking with a director at one point, and she was asking me about like how my movement background connected to my theater work, and it's like exactly what I said to her. Is like I really like these transitions. Like I really like how you can go from one place to the other. But yeah, I think also like in terms of like the Instagram posts and everything, it's also like really useful for me. Sometimes if I can't remember how to do something, or um like I'm lesson planning and I'm like, I'm tired. I just want to pull out something that I've done before. It's like really easy for me to go back. So I think across the board it's helpful for students and also helpful for me.
Yeah, and there's like so many different transitions and thoughts that I'm sure go through your brain as an instructor, and you're like, when did I do this transition? When did I do this combo? And
Yeah.
like, yeah, like it's not always, especially with the variety of people that come to your classes, like it's never ending. There's always a surprise of people in every class. It's like I feel like the hardest part that I see as a student. Like I would imagine being an instructor and just like there's just so many different bodies in the same room, and so trying to um to develop a lesson plan that would be suitable for everybody to feel,
Yeah.
a little short.
Also, I mean, I could go like full hardcore like nerd. We can like go to that place too. But in general, like it's useful for students to be able to like see it for like like also you also teach, so I'm sure you know this so well and do this in your own teaching practice. But the way that it's useful for students to see what they're learning before they do it. I used to do that. Like I used to show them like before class, like in the beginning, I'd be like, this is what we're learning today. But I think it made students kind of anxious. It made them feel like they had to get everything or else it wasn't going to be like a successful day for them. So that's also part of the reason why, I mean, I always kind of have, but I stopped doing that in the beginning to like kind of emphasize that you don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to get everything. Yeah, and that way like they can see it before, but they don't have to feel like in class like, oh, everybody else is gonna get this and I'm not gonna be able to. And I feel like it creates some kind of anxiety sometimes too. So that's also part of the reason why I use the power of social media.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I like that you saw something that you were like, I want to tweak this because I don't think that it's getting the response that I'm looking for. And yeah, like noticing that you don't want the anxiety to arise, but you want them to feel successful. It says a lot as an instructor. Like you're not here to showboat your skills. You're here to be like, how can I make sure that you are feeling successful in this moment.
Definitely, yeah.
And yeah, I think it is helpful to see something done, but when the information is so much and in pole it's so much with just one transition, because you're thinking about so many different contact points and where the contact points are shifting to. And so when you're talking about like a full on combo, it's like it's a lot of information because you're like these contact points, then these contact points, then these next three. It's like an outline of a paper, right?
Yeah.
And like, so yeah. And then you're also thinking momentum and like, you're like, oh, this is a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's cool that I do very much appreciate that you take the time. And I think your students appreciate that you take the time to post it and go in and practice and make sure that you're showing up for the class and prepared. And
Aww.
I think that goes a long way. Like people appreciate that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, huh?
Yeah.
You know, for some reason, I kind of felt like everyone did that. Like, are you not to, you know, shit on anyone or anything.
No, everyone has a totally different style. And I think that I love everyone's style in their own way. And some value like flow more and some value like in a different embodiment or an unstructured platform. And I think it's important for students to also know what they're walking into, and appreciate what they're walking into for what it is, right? Like you could be going to every class and my main thing going in at first to pole was like, let me just get one thing out of this class and I'm happy, because otherwise you can let it be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But when you then start to realize what teachers you're having, and this can go to any part of your life as well, but then you start to realize like what you can gain from this class or this relationship as opposed to what are like you not getting, because you can't get everything in one experience. Like that's just not going to happen. But yeah, you go to a certain class and you're like, oh, I'm going to feel the textures on the floor and the pole, or I'm going to embody this big balloon, like, you know? And then you go to other classes and you're like, I'm going to feel accomplished because I nailed this trick or this hold that I've been trying to nail. Or I'm going to feel good when I'm able to do this combo and not have to think about it.
Yeah.
So everyone has like a totally different style. And I do think it's important as a student to go in such an appreciation mode.
Yeah.
Of like, these instructors have been doing it for a very long time. And they also have different things that they find important. And you can learn so much from just being like engrossed in that thing for that hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And
you know, like on the flip side of the social media thing is like, I'm sure you've had like types of conversations like this before, but like, I think it's like really rough because when I first started pole dancing, I think like for the first like 6 years, something like that, I don't have any videos of me doing any pole dancing. Like, and maybe that's just because I'm old. Because I'm a dinosaur. It's really hard to like have social media in this way where like on one hand it makes things really like accessible, like which is really fantastic. And then on the other side of that, you're like flooded with all these images of people doing things like perfectly. And I think that's really rough. Like, I feel like there's this like comparison that happens in your mind where you're like seeing these like professional gymnasts, like ex-gymnasts, pole dancers, and they're doing things so like seemingly easily. But I honestly am like, pole dancing is one of those things too, where like you really have to lie with your face so much. Like, things hurt so bad.
Your skin too. It's like, yeah.
So bad. It's so fucking strenuous. You're throwing yourself around trying not to vomit if you're doing spin. But really, it's like really intense and extreme physical activity. And so I can really empathize with students being like, um, I don't know, just having that expectation when they come into class that it should be easy for them too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real.
I think, yeah, I mean, social media makes a lot of things seem easier than it is, and that there's this magic pill to fix things. And with pole, there's no easy route. I've heard individuals say, like, in open pole, like, oh, I'm gonna try to do that thing where your legs are floating off the ground. It's like, I'm like, an Aisha, like, you're just gonna try that? I don't think you understand the gravity of, like,
Yeah.
and it's different because a lot of people come into pole and or other movement styles, and it might be their first movement style, so they don't understand like the difficulty of the move. And when, like you said, people are lying with their face, it's like, oh, it's like, it's not like you're watching a video of someone at the gym just like grunting out like reps of this like 200-pound deadlift.
Yeah.
You're like watching someone. And I do think that there's this weird situation where when we see someone just working with the human body, like whether it's anything calisthenics, I think we think it's easier than a weight. Whenever you see someone like lifting a weight, or I've lifted like random things like benches or barricades. I love lifting New York barricades.
Nice.
But it's like this different manipulation. It's difficult for sure. But I think sometimes when we're just like with our body, there's not always the same appreciation of effort. Which is just different to think about.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they're doing a pull-up. Everyone can do a pull-up at some point, but a pull-up's hard.
Yeah. I wonder if it's also like part of this I wonder if it's part of this like idea out there, like because of like where pole originated and like the different types of populations that will, like, honestly, most of my classes, like majority obviously like female femmes, and I wonder if there's like something of that association where like if you're like, oh, if like somebody could do that like at the club, then I should be able to do that, no problem,
Right.
I could get drunk in Vegas and swing around, it's fine, without actually realizing that it's actually quite difficult,
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much in the difficulty of that art. But yeah, I think also with the social media, we had this discussion like earlier, maybe like a couple months ago, but this need for individuals to post things right away or to record things so that they can post it. And in classrooms, like you discussed earlier, you don't really have early videos of you polling, but nowadays it's harder as an instructor to navigate a class where individuals do have a phone. And you're also like, it's your time, you're instructing. It's time that you've very much invested. It's not time that should be recorded if you're asked not to. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I think in general, like filming yourself is like a really valuable tool. Like even when I train or I try something new or whatever, I do often like film myself and then look at it and be like, okay, my alignment is off here, my hands have to be lower here or whatever it is. So I think it is really useful in terms of like just kind of like doing it over and over again, being like super exhausted by the end of it, so in that way, like I can really get that. I do think that it's very different from when I started. And that is kind of jarring for me sometimes. I think always, in terms of like respect and consideration for other people, and you know, like even giving respect to your fellow students, not just your teacher, that it's important, you know,
Yeah.
like you know, like people have jobs where they're not supposed to be pole dancing, and you know, or like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like stigmatized, and so there's like that sort of practical, like, hey, we should be considerate in this way. But I think, um, and I think this is like beyond pole dancing, but um, the way, I'm gonna try not to get like too like in my head about it and
It's
you
okay.
know, start like, you know,
It's okay.
but my friend had this research paper, okay?
Here we go.
It's this on like social anthropology. I'm messing it up. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
You know. Um he's like, that's not my major at all. But he was reading this paper about this sorry to do this, but the panopticon is like a structure that they put in prisons where I know, it's this conversation is getting wild. It's taking a turn. But there's basically a structure in the middle where the guards are. And then the prisoners are on the outside, but it's covered with a type of glass where you can't really tell if you're being watched or not. And then the result of that, all of this is like from this French philosopher named Michel Foucault, by the way. But anyway, he like, so, you know, he's starting this thing, the panopticon, and it made people realize that the end of it, the conclusion of the studies was that the prisoners will behave if they think they're being watched, you know, regardless of my own feelings about prison and stuff. But so I think there, and his thesis was built on this idea of social media and how that acts as a panopticon, and how you behave and change your behaviors when you think people are watching you, and how that shapes you know, just you being you. But I think there is something really interesting in that idea. That idea that he shared with me like really stuck with me, and I've thought about it a lot over the years. But so I just like wonder about like not again, not to be like, I don't know, not to sound like paranoid or whatever, but I do wonder about the long-term effects of like social media for us. And I guess like in terms of dancing too, there's already this pressure in terms of like the bodies that we're supposed to have or like exist in or whatever. And I guess I just see people struggle with that, and I can really like empathize with them. And I feel like I'm like not beyond that. I also, of course, have my moments. But yeah, I kind of wish that people could experience that joy a little bit more, like kind of like in my beginning years of pole, where like I didn't really have to worry about that. And it definitely made me like, I just like, you know, being weird with like weird body shapes and like, you know, whatever. And I think that really like getting to have that time where you know, like Instagram wasn't such a big thing, where you know, like, are you even pole dancing? Like, have you even done this move if you didn't film it and like put it on social media? Like, yeah, I just wish that people could experience that freedom a little more. I know it exists, it's in its own world, but just like the joy of like movement. I also think like there's not very many classes. I think it's like I wouldn't say it's like specific to pole, but it's like kind of a pole thing, right? Like I don't go to yoga classes and see people filming themselves doing yoga. Or even like a hip hop class. I took like one like years and years ago, but it wasn't really like such a thing, you know?
Yeah. I think there is parts of it for pole where it's like, I want to like remember how to do the thing, to back to like what you were saying. Cause like, you're like, because for me, sometimes at the end of a freestyle, like when you're freestyling at the end, sometimes I'm really trying to like, at least the first 30 seconds, like get the moves in that I learned so that I can re-practice them and then figure out transitions for them. But I think like back to what you were also saying with the different, out of respect for other people, like it's just important because it is a very vulnerable space for a lot of people. One, body waves are not always like accepted in places, in social spaces. Like if you go to a park and you do body waves, which I do, like you will get stares. You'll get, but like I'm at a point in my life where I've been able to forgive myself permission to just be weird with my movements and like not worry about what other people are thinking. I think Animal Flow gave me that years ago when I started doing that in the gym before people really knew what that was. But I think that going back to pole, that like one, people are being vulnerable in their movements because they're doing spinal waves that maybe they haven't done for years. Mm-hmm. And then they're also being vulnerable because you need skin contact. And for me, it was the first time I bought spandex because I almost like died in an inversion class. Like I was going into an iguana and I had track shorts on and I was like, no, I need to get like spandex. And I hadn't even tried out for my high school volleyball team because I didn't want to be in spandex. So like, but I was like, oh, this is what I need to keep me alive. So, it does in a way give you this appreciation for your body and your skin. But again, it still is a very vulnerable place for you to be in the back of someone else's video, possibly like picking a wedgie or something.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I very much appreciate that you said that out of respect for the other students and your instructors, again, to their point, like they might be spotting, or doing other things that are super important. And I think that social media right now is really like at a place where it's unfortunately like so sponsored that they're just trying to grab everyone's attention and sell it to the highest bidder. And like, that's where it's at. It's not, I want it to be a place where I can go and connect to people so that I can be with them in real life. But it's also very hard to filter through all the junk right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I want to get into your performances. So like whether it's pole or drag, I do feel like you have a great way of telling a story. You always like make costumes, whether you're knitting them or something else. You have this like story. So I'm curious as to what is like your process in building your performance. And also, there's like this idea of the purpose of art is to like awaken something in you and then help others to feel it. And I feel like from witnessing some of your performances that you're not just trying to tell a story for yourself, but so that the audience can witness something and also receive a message in their own life.
Mm. Oh, I guess performance-wise and the storytelling, I think it just comes from like being a theater person, and being like writing plays all the time, and and just liking that. So yeah, I think it's just like, I don't know, I guess like ingrained in me in that way. Yeah.
But like, what is your process? Like, do you start with like what is like do you start with like an outline of the moves you want to do, or do you start with like the concept, or do you start with like your social justice issues that you care about? Like, you have multiple things in your performance that that hit, and I'm just curious to see like where your backbone kind of lies.
I think I definitely start with a concept, and it could have like some kind of social justice themes in it. But yeah, I definitely just start with a concept first. I think the last one I did, I was like Incredible's leather showcase. And yeah, it was like, I think it was like Nine Inch Nails Closer, and one of the lines is like, I want to fuck you like an animal. I was doing really, really stupid. So it was just like different animals, but like sexy animals. So that's what I wanted, and I just rolled with it. But in general, I guess also occasionally there are some moves I'm like, oh yeah, this is, I was like, yeah, I would be like, oh, I want to fucking do this, you know? Like, I did that particular performance. I remember when I was in Jumbo's clown room, and I think this is even before I started pole dance, but I saw somebody standing on the ceiling, and she stood there for such a long time. She was like, yeah, it was amazing. And like by the first like 10 seconds, everyone's like, oh man, this is cool. There's like 20 seconds, you're like, oh shit, this is still happening. And like by 30 seconds, you're like, oh my God. I just like had that in my head. I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be badass like that dancer. And yeah, so I just put that in there. And then I was like, oh, I've also seen this Aisha drop thing. Love elbow grip Aisha. So I was like, that's gonna happen. That'll be like the ending, you know. So yeah, sometimes I'll like look at lyrics to a song too, and see and be like, oh, this would be great if I just like dropped here, or like I like fell to the floor here, or whatever, you know.
So the lyrics are like powerful too. Okay, cool.
Only because it's Christmas. It's making me think of like this other performance I did where I was like, I want to be a sad fruitcake.
Yes, that was great. That was a great one.
Yeah, but that's because I was really into this Rilo Kiley song, Christmas Cakes.
Yeah, so it seems like the song is like the lyrics of yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. And again, like not shitting on anyone, but it has to like have that kind of draw from you. Or it also can get kind of boring. Like it just feels like I'm just like, you know, it's like not engaging for me to like want to do. So
yeah. Wow, I think everyone like expects it at this point. Like, what costume is fitting? Yeah. And then I do feel like you have this moment, like you have this facial expression when you do something that's like
do
the
facial expression. Yeah. What is it? Amazing.
And you're just like, I just stood on the ceiling. You're like, you knew you hit it, and you knew
all the listeners. Yeah. Wish you could have seen his face. Brilliant.
Yeah, and I think also you bring this element of like real life to whatever it is that you're doing. I'm also curious too, because like you ran a freestyle showcase too. So what would you say is like the difference in your performance style dance and your like freestyle dance? What do you think draws you in your freestyle dance?
So actually, I just feel like I just posted about this few days ago. So but for the longest time, I felt really awkward whenever I was freestyling. I was like, oh shit, I'm doing the same 5 moves over and over. Like, how come I can't be more creative than that? You know? But yeah, so I was just like, I'll practice it. Like I'll practice, like I practice moves, like tricks or whatever. And so, I think for like about a year, I would start and end each training session with, like a freestyle.
Oh yes, you did. I did see this. Okay.
Yeah. But I think like, in terms of my freestyling, like if I'm just trying to like have fun, honestly, I know that I'm like the spin pole teacher, but I like static and I like low flow, and I like wearing a lot of clothes actually, so that I can roll around in my feels as much as possible. But yeah, I think and this is like an odd way to describe it, but it makes me sleepy when I watch myself. Sleepy. I think it's because it's kind of like swirly, you know. Yeah. So and usually when I'm free dancing, it's like something like slow and like feels rich, if that makes sense. A lot of feelings, a lot of like sad, a lot of Kehlani, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love the rolling on the floor and that extra clothes and like rolling on the pole as if it's its own foam roller. It's like this is a vertical foam roller and I'm just gonna like just rest my back on it because so many times you go to grab the pole and you grab it with your hand and there's like through freestyling you're like I have like this contact point that I can just explore or wiggle in or slowly extend myself to whatever point you have. Um, but I think, do you think in freestyle you listen to the lyrics like you do creating?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially if it's yeah, and like the beat, you know.
Okay.
If the like definitely the lyrics if it's like a song I'm like really comfortable, like and I've heard it a bunch of times, it's one of my favorites. Yeah. But I think in terms of like spin pull, oddly, like it's the construction of a sequence that really draws me. Like it's really fun for me.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to get from one place to another using momentum, different body parts.
Yeah.
The strength of your will.
Yeah. Or even just being like, this part feels really cool. Where can I go from here, keeping this contact point? Because it's like, this feels really strong right now. Can I like stay here, but make a different shape? Yeah. I think for me, freestyling, I couldn't tell you any of the lyrics. If it was a new song, I'm just like it's all background noise. The like beat, yeah, the beat, the like little sounds is what I pay attention to. I like can't. Yeah, I don't. I couldn't tell you what the song was saying probably, and like the whole. Usually when a freestyle happens, it's just like wonderful because this is like experience that maybe you remember, maybe you don't. Maybe you remember it long enough to journal about it. But yeah, it's usually never filmed and yeah, it's like it's so freeing to just take shapes that feel good. Yeah, so another thing is like with freestyling, I think that it's beautiful because like oftentimes we're like these human beings that are just like we're trying to like get all this information about all the things in the world, but in freestyle like it's about experiencing it 1st and then trying to process it later maybe. But like it's all about the like in the moment, the now, the like the intuitive movement that's happening. And intuitive movements when all of your senses are absorbing information at once, and then that's the driver, which I think is just so beautiful to just like let that take over, and then hopefully you can process it, or hopefully not. Maybe you just had a great therapy session, you know. But I also think it's beautiful that you organize like the performance for freestyling too, because that I think also deserves a place in any type of performative space or dance space. Oftentimes it's not always at the forefront, but it's what I find most interesting. Yeah. And then you did sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like I feel like in Let's Get Freaky Let's Get Freaky they're amazing. They're fucking amazing. Like some of the performances that I've had, I mean, pretty much all of them. It's like, wow, you didn't make this up. You're doing it right now. Yeah. It's really thrilling. Yeah. I remember like the first one I ever did, and like also the second. But I was like clapping and like wooing so loud. Like my throat hurt the next day. It was incredible. So.
Yeah. It was so fun to watch. And also be a slight part of in the group thing. But I think too, it goes to you said you did you did a little bit of acting, right? And so like, and some, did you take those like improv classes and
I
stuff?
just did acting in high school,
Okay.
and honestly, I was on this like online writers workshop, and I still go to this online writers workshop. But it's led by this playwright, and it's the majority of us are Asian American, and so many of them are actors, and so many of them are brilliant actors, and then we have to read each other's work. And very quickly I was like, oh, I have to step up. So I feel like it was almost like a I don't know, just like reading other people's work. And I think I've always been kind of like a expressive person. So I don't want to say that it was easy for me at anything, because acting is genuinely hard, but yeah, it's just like another way to creatively express myself that I enjoy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, creativity is just like the world that sits between physical and imaginative. Like physical is all practical, imaginative is like in your brain somewhere. Creativity is like merges the two. It's wonderful. Okay, so a few other things. Like I think by this point in the episode, everyone's heard Kitty laugh a couple times. Yeah. I think it would be like a disservice to not talk about Kitty's laugh. But yeah, so like I do really think that it is a huge piece. Like when you walk into Incredible Poll and you hear your laugh, you're like, oh, Kitty's somewhere. It's like, oh, this day is gonna be great. It's very contagious, and I don't get to take enough of your classes due to schedules, but I also know that like laughter is the quickest way to bring a room together. It's like proven to be just like the quickest way to get everyone on the same page. So, and yours is just so contagious that I think that like the bond that you have in your room is probably just like, it's just beautiful. Everyone comes all the time to the same spin classes. They're regulars, and you're also just spreading a lot of magic with that. So I know. I mean, I know it's the Women in Movement podcast, but I think like there is movement in laughter. Like your diaphragm gets pressure on it. Like you have this oxygen starvation moment, and then you have to pump blood new ways, and it causes endorphins to rise. So like laughter is a movement too. So if you are listening, just make sure you laugh today at some point. I think that's also another problem I have with the Apple Watches, because I'm like, people are like, oh, I got so many steps in. And I'm like, but did you laugh today? Like, it doesn't count the important joys of life, the things that connect you to others, the moments that you felt really alive. And I think that your laughter makes people feel really alive.
Oh, good. I'm really glad. I really I think at the end of the day, I just want people to come to my class and have a good time with each other and just like be in community with each other. I think like it's such a special, like it's also like I've also been in like a shit mood and then gone to class and then like, hey everyone, it's gender names and pronouns, you know. And then like by the end of it, I've been like super energized and really like uplifted. So I think everybody else in the room is also doing that for me. But then I think like also in terms of like teaching and stuff like that, like I think people, it's not, I think, I know people learn better when they're feeling safe, when they're feeling like they can try things, they can feel comfortable. And like part of that is like, you know, like being done with each other.
Laughing. Yeah.
Aw,
yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. I think it like also, yeah, to your point, it brings people back to like, it's really not that big of a deal. Like you don't have to go into this stress, fearful mode. You can, stay in this this
Yeah.
mode of like gratitude and happiness, like,
Yeah.
and you'll get through.
Because I think also like at the end of the day, like and like I think of like goals and like what is your goal, right? Like what is your goal with pole dancing? And I don't imagine that every single person who's coming into the room is like, I want to be a professional pole dancer and I want to I don't know, whatever, all that stuff, go to competition, whatever. It doesn't, so if that's not like the serious goal that you're training for, then it's probably other things, like just to be in your body, to like have fun, to see what you can do, to experience this growth, like lots of things like that. So I think it's sometimes good to think of it that way, so you're not putting so much pressure on yourself to be perfect.
Yeah. I also like the way that you started off class with like, yes, it's like names and pronouns, and then oftentimes you have like a question or something, and you're like, what's your favorite type of protein? And then, it gets everyone to kind of like come out of their shell in a little way or a big way, and, get to know each other as like humans, and like, yeah, another element of a bond, and like, yes, we're going to do this for an hour, but an hour and a half, 15 minutes, but we're going to walk in and out of this space and go back to our day. So, I think it's cool to just like, yeah, bring us back to just who we are, or, maybe you connect with someone in a different way than just pole. Yeah, so that's a fun way. Is there any other ways that you like to start class or warm ups that you find fun?
Yeah. Start class. So I'm like, I have a master's in teaching. Whatever. I have a master's in teaching. My mom calls me still and asks me when I'm going to be a teacher again. We dropped so much money on the degree. Sorry. And something that we learned in school is, oh shit, I'm sorry, my ADHD brain skipped, and then I was talking about my mom, and then
it's
I
okay.
forgot.
You were talking about what you like to do at the beginning of class.
Oh yes, that interpersonal relationships are really important.
Yeah.
That getting to know people in your class is really important. It's going to help them learn. And also for me, it makes it a better time, which I'm just out here looking for a good time. I want to teach you, I want to have a good time. Yeah. That's my goal. But I think in general, like, people come regularly. I get to know about them. We, share things. We laugh.
Yeah.
And so sometimes in the beginning, like people just come in and we just like chat, honestly. Yeah. Tell me about their dogs. Yeah. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So there's that. In terms of like warming up and stuff, I guess in terms of like a practical like teaching thing, I do use like a base. A base of a warm up. And then if there are things that I know that we're going to do, like, I mean, this is like, I guess like kind of duh, right? But like, if we're gonna do ballerinas in class, I'm gonna warm up the shoulders and the back, you know? So just like stuff like that, makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, it's more like class specific.
Yeah.
And is there like a certain way you like to end the class or anything?
Yeah, I make everyone clap for themselves.
Back to elementary school.
Okay. I've also seen people, I think it was Roz, but close out with like, could be Roz, but share something that you noticed like someone else doing that was really crap.
Oh yeah, I do that in my classes too sometimes. And like especially for the youth, I find it too. Yeah, it's like, but yeah, I think all ages can benefit from doing that and receiving it. Also, like, it's a lot of practice to receive a compliment and not like there's a practice I've done at the end of a retreat one time, and it was like you have to stand there for a minute while everyone's shouting out great things about you, and you don't get to say anything. You just like have to accept everything without being like, oh, and you also are good at this. Oh, and you also. So it's like it's a weird practice to sit with an appreciation.
Yeah.
And being like, it's hard.
Yeah.
Because there's like we want to be like, oh, you too.
Yeah.
And it's like that's also hard because it's like, yes, you have to sit with it. But there was another point I was trying to make here. Maybe it will come back to me.
Sitting with compliments.
Yeah, it was receiving it, but no, it'll come back to me at some point. But anyways, yeah, it's a cool practice to be a part of and try if you want to ever try. But yeah, I love that you end your class with appreciation, clap, bringing them back to elementary school with that, or like we're the theater of
yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we have spoken for quite some time. I just have like a few other questions. What are some of your favorite pole moves?
What are my favorite pole moves? Jeannie. Jeannie's my friend.
Love Jeannie.
Her. So great. All the things that you can get into and out of Jeannie.
Yeah.
Elbow work by Aisha. Bestie. No, those are my two best friends, but let me think about some of my other friends.
Well, when I came to your class, I asked, I was like, because I was like, oh, you do a lot of tabletop stuff and a lot of sickle foot stuff, and I don't get that often in all the other classes. Like, it's just not an often reoccurring thing.
Yeah.
And so we got to do that, and that was beautiful.
Oh, yeah. I know, I have been having a sickle foot moment. Yeah, I think, 10 out of 10 students can agree. Yeah, I've been having a moment like that, for sure.
As you look at your foot.
But also swirly moment, like a little swirly leg thing, or like a a dramatic, like, I don't know, pushing off of the pole kind of thing.
Love it. Love it.
Swirl. Yes. Little swirl and twirl.
Swirl and twirl. So also, what are some of your favorite books or anything you're interested in learning at the moment? Or like,
what are my favorite books? One of my favorite books is Love That Dog by Sharon Creech, which is a children's book. But it's like a kid who's in an English class and is doing like a bunch of like exercises and stuff. And I won't spoil it for you, but there is a moment with a dog. It's like really emotional and like beautiful, and I like cried reading it, even though I'm like 37. So I love that.
How long is that book? Is it like an
hour? But also going on the theme of like children's books, there's a book called Everybody Loves You, Mr. Hatch.
Okay.
Or Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch. Oh. Grumpy old man, and he's like, and then and then like things happen, and he's like, oh, maybe I have a community, but yeah. But I have reading tastes that are beyond a 5-year-old. Hold on, I can do this. I can answer this question in a real adult way. One of my favorite playwrights is Che Yu. I actually read his plays in college, and up until that point, we've been studying a lot of like dead white male playwrights, basically. And I hadn't had a lot of experience with plays that were relevant to my identity. And I think my favorite of his plays is probably Wonderland. But they're all delightful and wonderful. And there, I've done it. I've proved it.
Would you have? Yeah. Also, on your website, you have so many playwrights and stories and short stories and stuff that the listeners can look up and read and stuff if they want to.
Yes. If you want a good cry.
As you say with a laugh.
Then you cry, right later.
That's great. And there's also another where can people find you? You wanna say that? Where they can find you? Like maybe like your website
So my website is nina-key.com. That has all my playwriting work. I don't have a poll one. I have a Pollstagram. The handle is Kitty or Bruce right now. We'll see if that changes, I guess. But yeah, you can find me there. You can find me at Incredible teaching Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays right now. And I guess I don't know when I don't know when you're gonna do this, but I have a few like things coming up theater wise. I have a production happening at Theater Rhinoceros. And also I'm in Club Thumbs Winter Works, and I have a reading happening at the Public as part of the Spotlight series because I'm part of their early writers group. But that's where you can
Where do you share that information for your playwright stuff? Like where?
I also have like a playwriting Instagram, which is NI_EU_KI. But honestly, it's just a lot of pictures of me going on trips and with my dogs. So I don't know if it's like that serious of a playwriting Instagram, but
do you post at least like where you're gonna be on there, maybe?
Yeah, I do, and yeah, I should be better about that, but I don't.
It's okay.
I'm here, but I'm not here.
Yeah, so we'll put all that in the bio and everything, and so everyone can connect with you in whatever ways, and hopefully hit us up with more questions or anything interesting.
So T, I am not too long ago joined the board of a nonprofit called Soulful Productions.
Okay.
That's also where you can find me.
Okay.
It's an arts nonprofit, so a lot of us are theater people, but it's not just theater. But we're here to support the Korean American community in the arts. So
okay, beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, we'll put all of that in there.
Amazing.
Yes. And I always ask this at the end, but if you had one message that you would like to leave with the listeners, that you think is of value, this would be a great time. Yeah.
Oh, so much pressure. I can think of something. No, I have it. It's in my heart. I just have to let it out. I think art is hard. I think art is hard, and you should be gentle with yourself, and that you should have fun. Yeah, you should have fun.
Yeah, it's simple. Art is hard.
Art is hard.
Have fun.
Yeah.
And laugh.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Or cry.
Yeah. Oh, at the same time. Not cry.
Just think of the seal.
I just think of the seal.
Well, thank you so much, Kitty. This has been wonderful. Bye.